Hello, this is Maria Williams. I'm really happy you are here today. I hope that you are staying healthy and that you will enjoy this video and that it can brighten your day a little bit. Surprisingly, these are the first cards that I've ever made that have rainbows on them, and rainbow cards are really popular right now, and they've got lots of dies out there for making rainbows. But if you have circle or oval dies, you can do rainbows with those pretty easily. And I'm going to show you how I made mine today. I filmed this video a while back. It could be up to a month ago now, and this is the first card I made, and this was from a die set that the Stamp Market gave out for free with new orders. I believe in February with their new release, and it wasn't available for sale, but now it is part of their newish collection. So these are the circle dies that I use for that card, and I had used some Stampin' Up! Cardstock that I had in my stash, but for the A2 size card that I'm going to show you how I made, I am using some Stamp Market cardstocks as well as some mirror cardstock. This is a tonic pack. It's a festive light, so I guess it's more for the holidays, but on the first card I used the Harvest Gold, which is I used a Honey Gold, that is a satin effect mirror cardstock, and for the smaller card I'm using the Harvest Gold. And I'm using the Skinny Alpha dies for the Happy, and I was going to use the Party Pieces stamps and dies for the rest of the sentiment for the birthday, but as you'll see later in the video, I totally changed that up. So here are some of the original die cuts that I worked with to make the larger card. I used some glitter cardstocks from the Paper Studio that I had gotten at Hobby Lobby a long time ago. And I did cut individual arches, but if you didn't want to do that, you could certainly cut a series of circles that are all different sizes and then stack them one on top of the other, and of course you'd need a white one in the middle, or you'd need to make a hole. I think just a white die cut circle in the middle would be the best option, and then you can just cut it in half. And your circles don't have to be perfectly aligned in the middle of each other. You could offset them a little bit and get a slightly different look. And then for the smaller card that I'm making today, I'm going to use all these oval dies. These are from Sizzix. They're actually from a Stampin' Up! Set that I got a long time ago. But you could definitely get some Hero Arts Infinity dies or just Sizzix dies. I'll have some links on my blog post. So the first thing I'm doing is I am cutting some pieces of cardstock in the colors that I'm going to be using. The first color that I cut, let's see. Okay, the first color I did was Blush Pink, that's my red, then Melon Orange, Citrine, since the Stamp Market doesn't have a true yellow color. Then I'm using Leafy, Sea Glass, skipping the indigo and the rainbow, and then I'm using the Party Pink as my violet. One thing to keep in mind is that if you are using 6 different colors of cardstock, you actually need 7 dies, because you have to cut the outsides of the ovals, but then you also have to cut the inside of the smallest oval. Once I have all my pieces of cardstock ready, I'm going to start die cutting, and I'm going to start with the largest die. And in an ideal world, these dies would stack inside of each other so that I could die cut, but because I'm making such thin rainbow pieces, I'm not able to cut the full arc in one go, so I'm going to have to cut the outside of it and then the inside of it. So rather than putting in one piece of cardstock at a time and die cutting that, I'm die cutting the largest piece and then the next piece down with the largest oval and then the oval that's slightly smaller. Then I will take the slightly smaller die that I was using for my second piece, and I will align it with the first piece that I die cut, and then use the next smaller oval die to cut the inside of the other piece that I had die cut. After I run that through, I will then have two full arches, actually 2 ovals that I cut. We'll turn them into arches later on, but then I will take the slightly smaller die, and once again take the smaller die that I was using, use it to cut the outside of my next oval, and use the one that's slightly smaller than that to cut the next color. I hope this makes a lot more sense when you're watching. It really is hard to explain, but I think you get the idea that I'm cutting two different sizes of ovals and then using the smaller oval on the piece of cardstock where I just cut the larger oval. So I'm just going to continue doing that until all my skinny ovals are cut, and then I'm going to need an oval as my backer that I can attach all these ovals to. So I'm just taking the largest oval die that I use and die cutting a white piece of cardstock. While I have my die cutting machine handy, I'm going to continue die cutting. So I am taking the H, A, P, and Y letters from the Skinny Upper Alphabet die set, and I'm using a little bit of purple tape that I have already used before, so it's not super sticky. And I'm just going to cut the all four letters, and then of course I'll have to cut another P, and then I'm going to cut my card base, actually my card front, because you'll see that I'm actually mounting that onto another piece of colored cardstock. So then I will cut the openings in my front card panel so that I can inlay the letters. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and assemble, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and assemble my rainbow, because that way I can get a better idea of the layout of my card. So I'm just taking some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive and placing it around my largest oval frame and gluing that down, being careful since these are really thin die cuts. You want to make sure that they're not getting distorted. So really, as long as you get the first one right, the rest of them should be easy to place. For the subsequent frames, I thought that it might be easier to just run a bead of glue on the white cardstock and then place the ovals on top of that. If there's a little bit of glue that is exposed, it doesn't matter because it's going to get covered up. The only place where I really want to be careful is right in the middle of my white oval, because I don't want to have to necessarily die cut it. So I'm just being careful not to get it right in the center of the white oval. I placed a large Stampin' Block on the back of my rainbow setup so that everything would lay nice and flat, and made sure that it was nice and dry before I went to my paper trimmer. At this point, I debated whether or not to cut out the center of my ovals, and I decided not to. So I just took my mini tonic trimmer and went ahead and cut the whole thing in half, and then I'm going to once again decide to bring my smallest oval in and die cut the center of the half of the ovals, which is now my rainbow. I now want to move on to cutting the letters from my front panel. So I am arranging all the items that I'm planning on using, and then using a piece of purple tape that I have temporarily taped down to my work surface and lining those dies up with the letters that I have arranged on my card. And I thought it would be easier to leave the gap for the P right in the middle. I thought that would be a little bit more forgiving if I got something a little off. So then I'm just taking everything off my card, placing my dies onto the card panel and double checking my placement one more time, and then I'm just going to run it through my die cutting machine. Then I just have to align the die for the letter P that's missing, and once again run it through my die cutting machine. I'm popping out all the pieces from my front panel, and I'm definitely going to save these letters. It would be great to just place as is on another card, or you could use some markers or coloring pencils to color them in different colors and use them that way. You can see there on my work surface that there is a birthday die cut that is white heat embossed on pink cardstock, and I was going to use that, but then decided it was way too small, and I'll let you see it on the card so you can judge for yourself. And you can also see that the birthday die cut is die cut from this piece of pink cardstock that I am using on the front of my card. That is party pink cardstock, and I didn't see the point of using a separate piece of cardstock for that little birthday sentiment, since nobody is going to notice that opening is on the cardstock once I put my white panel in front of it. So that's a way to save a little bit of cardstock. And the reason why I switched from tape runner to liquid glue is my tape runner decided to run out in the middle of me trying to glue that, and apologize for my hair sticking out there. But anyway, I am going to insert the gold mirror cardstock letters into the openings, and the easiest way I find to do that is to place the glue directly into the openings rather than try to put it on the die cut. I have often in the past put it on the die cut and then proceeded to drop the die cut onto my card and ruin it. So now I do it this way. And of course you have to be careful when you die cut the letters out of the panel that you keep those little bits that fit in the openings of the letters. To add a little bit of sparkle to my rainbow, I took out my clear Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen and put a pretty good amount of it onto the entire rainbow. Unfortunately, you can't really see all that sparkle in the video, but then I attached it to the front of my card with some this is scrapbook adhesives foam tape, which is very, very sticky. So I placed that onto the card, and that birthday sentiment was just looking so small to me, but I kept on going. So I attached it with some more of the scrapbook adhesives foam tape, and then when that was done, since the card needed a little bit more, I used some enamel stars that I have. These are older Stampin' Up! Enamel stars, but I'm sure that you could find some enamel dots or use Nuvo drops or whatever, and I just used a few of the coordinating colors and placed them all over the card. At this point, I decided that that birthday was just not cutting it and it had to come off. So I very carefully peeled it off, and thankfully there wasn't any major damage to the card. So I pulled out two different colors of cardstock. Actually, one is some more of the party pink cardstock and the other one is some glitter cardstock. I'm using an older Stampin' Up! One, but there's a very similar color in that glitter cardstock pack that I also showed at the beginning. And then I'm using a pretty pink posh die that is a whole happy birthday, but I'm just going to use the birthday part. So I covered the back of the glitter cardstock with some double-sided adhesive tape and die cut the again, the birthday out of both the pink cardstock and the glitter cardstock. Then I just place the glitter cardstock die cut on top of the pink one, and then I attach the two of them together to my card. I will admit that putting the two die cuts together was a little bit tricky. You just have to work slowly and make sure that everything is lined up. But if it's not quite lined up right, you will get a chance to kind of move it a little bit. So just take your time and just be careful how you're lining it up, and it should be fine. And then I don't know if this is really necessary. Maybe you could have gone around the die cut once it's on the card, gone around it with a light marker and created a bit of a shadow. I don't know. I like the way the pink kind of peeks out from underneath, but if you didn't want to do it, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I put a Stampin' block on top of the die cut since I was using liquid glue to attach it to the card, and then the card was finished. So I was really happy with the way these cards turned out. I think they're such happy cards, and I know we're doing a lot of thinking of you cards, but people are still having birthdays. So I hope this inspires you. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. For links to the products I used and still shots, please visit my blog at mariascardsandmore.com. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.